Hello and welcome to the TYPO3 Community Writers Program. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk to you about conducting interviews that are the foundation of a lot of really great content. If marketing is a signal transmission, how are we going to strengthen that signal about TYPO3? A signal needs to be clear, consistent, and strong. I like this image of an antenna because it represents how signal is transmitted and repeated over long distances. And so when we're creating a piece of content, whether it's a blog post or a tutorial, we're sending a message about how people can be successful with TYPO3. Inevitably, we're helping decision makers when they're comparing TYPO3 to other solutions. Now, if you've been using an open source CMS like TYPO3 for a while, you may have noticed that the decision-making process is very different today than it was 10 years ago. Before, it might have been developers downloading, opening the source code, and trying to figure out how it worked. And now we have decision makers and marketers who are not coming from a technical background. They have very specific business needs and challenges that they want to meet, and they're already convinced about the value of open source. It may even be someone who's a junior on a team, maybe an intern, who is looking for a very specific set of features and comparing TYPO3 with other systems. So the goal in the Community Writers Program is to help boost the signal about TYPO3's capabilities and produce more English language content about TYPO3, and also increase the contributions of people who speak that marketing language out to the TYPO3 community. So the Community Writers Program is going to work through live online workshops, or you can watch recordings like these, and follow along with tutorials and use templates to create the content. Now let's think about what types of content these decision makers are looking for. They're looking for information about the content planning experience, how is media managed, what is it like to use it from their point of view as editors, content editors, and authors, and maybe the multi-site, multilingual capabilities, as well as features like extensibility, how can you integrate it with other systems, and how do you manage it. What we have here are different feature or topic areas that we're going to focus on with our TYPO3 messaging. On the left, we have some of the things that TYPO3 is really strong at when you compare it to other systems out there. And on the right, we have things that are very important for people. They're certainly high priority. They're just not the first things we're going to deal with. We're going to be talking initially about the things we have here on the left. So in this first tutorial, we're going to talk about conducting great interviews that make compelling content. Interviews provide context and insight into real people's experiences, and it's something that readers can directly relate to. And so when we are conducting interviews, we need to tap into the stories and get an idea of what really happened and what people's impressions are. And you want to get their quotes in their own words. And that's the best kind of content. Quoting somebody's real experience even makes the best kind of content you want to share, for example, on social media. It acts as a testimonial, and it can be reused in lots of different ways. So you might start with a profile of somebody, or you might turn that into a case study, and then you can refer back to that every time you're talking about what TYPO3 is really good at. So quotes and the real words the people we're interviewing do a lot of work. They provide excellent organic search results. They build credibility around a topic area and provide that compelling evidence. In order to draw those excellent insights out from an interview, there's 5 key principles that make an interview really good. First, you have to demonstrate empathy. You want to make the person you're actually talking to feel valued and an expert in their experience from their perspective. So you have to demonstrate real interest and curiosity. And you can do that by the way you prepare showing how much you're interested and you've done work to get to know who they are. And the people we're talking to generally aren't celebrities. They're probably not really used to getting interviewed. So, making them feel that you're very empathetic to their situation and you're very curious is going to help them shine. Second, you have to listen. So, to capture your subject's impressions and their ideas in their own words, you just have to keep quiet. You have to give them time and relax in the silence. There's a few extra beats you'll probably have to give than in a normal conversation. You're going to give them a little bit of extra time to think about their response. Not everybody thinks out loud. Some people need a little bit more time to compose their sentences. And so you're going to give them a little bit of extra time there. And rather than trying to anticipate what they're going to say, you should always give them the chance to verbalize the next point. So that goes into the next principle, which is to elicit answers by asking open-ended questions. So something like, tell me more about something, or how did you feel about that? These are follow-up questions that can draw out further information. And so what you don't want to do is try to summarize what they've just said. You want them to do that type of summary and add further color. Because what you're looking for, of course, is the story. A good way to do this is to ask people about things that really happened and what they really did, and dive deeper and seek examples of specific instances. So you can ask, can you remember a time when something like this happened? And tease out something very specific. This will help you build the story when you ask before and after information. Something like, what was the challenge you were dealing with? What was the problem you were trying to solve? And what happened afterwards? And later you'll be able to build a really good picture of how they tackled their problems and created solutions with TYPO3. Finally, when in doubt, ask. Experts love to talk about something they are knowledgeable about, which is understandable, and they're very happy to explain it. So if you hear a term or word that you don't know, certainly ask and have them describe that to you. But you may be aware that your audience isn't familiar with something. Definitely take that chance to let your interviewee explain it in their own words. So now you must be ready to conduct your first interview. So you have to be clear about the goals of your interview. Think about your audience and what information you need your audience to know, and what are the kind of target topics. If you know you're going to focus on a specific area, you can save a lot of time in, transcribing your interview if you have a very focused conversation. And of course, do research about your subject beforehand. If you have access to maybe their blog or they have a social media profile, look at what they've been talking about lately. It's a nice icebreaker. And again, it shows you that you're interested and that you're prepared. And whatever tools you're using, whatever notes you have, make sure you have everything to hand. So make sure your recording devices are working, that you have your notes with you. And that will just save you a lot of technical trouble and trauma later down the line. Finally, we have some resources that we're building up on the Community Writers Program page. There are example questions you can follow with, and also a template that you can use to write a profile. And what you're going to be writing is a story of somebody who has done something awesome and somebody that the reader can relate to. So there's a lot of different reasons you might interview somebody. Here's an example of a prominent community member being interviewed for the TYPO3 GmbH website. The purpose of this one was to show the value of the partner program. And in this case, Jochen is telling the story of how he's found success through contributing back to the community. So hopefully the reader by the end of this thinks, wow, maybe I should invest in the partner program and I'll get benefits like these. So say, for example, you wanted to write a profile maybe of your colleague who works at your company to talk about what it's like working there, because you want to share it with potential hires, people who are going to come and look at your job listings. So if you think about the profile you're going to write in relation to your readers and what their goals are, you'll have a really good piece of content. So the profile is potentially a blog post, or it could be something that feeds into a case study, or maybe even a white paper. The interview, I guess what I'm trying to say is the interview itself could be an endpoint, but it could also feed into other practice that you're doing. Check out the Community Writers page to find out about our next workshops.